All right, folks, we are back here on WLTH 1370 AM. Our number is 219-885-1371, and the phone lines are open. I am Scott Cannon. Over there is Reverend Delwyn Campbell.
Yeah, hello.
And we're on a little bit of a COVID haul because now the patron saint of COVID prevention, Dr. Fauci, has once again been exposed for being the fraud that he is. Okay, this is and this is once again why I talk about the politicization of this entire issue. Okay, because a lot of the people who are vaccine hesitant because of this man, and yet because of the way our media is and unscrupulous and our politicians are unscrupulous, they keep pushing this man in our face. But anyway, I digress. Let me tell you why he's in the news now and why he was trending, even though Twitter tried to suppress why he was actually trending.
Oh.
Newly released documents appear to contradict Dr. Anthony Fauci's repeated claims that the NIH did not fund gain-of-function research on bat coronaviruses at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. The internal documents detailed the work of the Eco Health Alliance, an American research nonprofit which used National Institute of Health funding to research novel bat coronaviruses at its Wuhan lab. Among the documents which were obtained by the Intercept, which is a pretty good site, I like the Intercept, through a Freedom of Information Act request, is a previously unpublished Eco Health Alliance grant filled with the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease, which is run by Fauci. The proposal requests $3.1 million for a project titled Understanding the Risk of Bat Coronavirus Emergence, which involved screening thousands of lab workers for novel bat coronaviruses. The grant was awarded for 5 years from 2014 to 2019 and was subsequently renewed before being suspended by the Trump administration. The proposal directs $599,000 of the total grant to the Wuhan Institute of Virology for research designed to make viruses more dangerous and or infectious. And its author acknowledged the danger associated with such work. Now here's the quote. Field work involves the highest risk of exposure to SARS or other COVID viruses, while working in caves with high bat density, overhead, and potential for fecal dust to be inhaled. After reviewing these documents, Gary Ruskin, the executive director of a group probing COVID's origin called the U.S. Right to Know, told the Intercept that the grant was a roadmap to high-risk research that could have led to the current pandemic. As we all know, Dr. Fauci has repeatedly said that he did not help fund or was not involved in gain-of-function research.
Right.
He has fought with Rand Paul in Congress. They've had spectacular screaming matches. And again, our media has taken Fauci's side. Much of the political establishment has taken Fauci's side, regardless of how much the evidence shows that he is just blatantly lying, Ralph.
It reminds me when I was doing some research on some of this stuff, I found, and this was dated as much as recently as September 7th, but in the original version of the Myths and Facts, it said, can I catch COVID after getting the vaccination? It said, no, it's impossible to catch the virus if you've been vaccinated. And it's impossible to give it to anyone if you've been vaccinated. Well, fortunately, at least they did update that page. So they got rid of that one. And of course, now thanks to the Delta variant, the Delta variant, you can get vaccinated and still get sick. And you can get sick and you can spread the virus to other people.
Exactly. And we're going to talk about that. I'm glad you said that, because we're going to talk about another study this was reported by the Associated Press, folks. The Associated Press. Not some crazy left wing or crazy right wing, not MSNBC, not Fox News, not some insane partisan hackery factory. This is from the Associated Press. Vaccinated people can carry just as much virus as unvaccinated people. Now let me state that again. That this is the title of the article. Study: vaccinated people can carry as much virus as others.
Mm.
Okay. Now, in another dispiriting setback for the nation's effort to stamp out coronavirus, scientists who studied a big COVID-19 outbreak in Massachusetts concluded that vaccinated people who got so-called breakthrough infections carried the same amount of coronavirus as those who did not get the shot. Health officials released details of that research, which was key in this week's decision by the CDC to recommend that vaccinated people return to wearing masks indoors in parts of the U.S. where the Delta variant is fueling infection surges. Now, the findings have the potential to upend past thinking. You just talked about this, Rev, about how the disease is spread. Previously, vaccinated people who got infected were thought to have low levels of the virus and to be unlikely to pass it to others. But the new data shows that that is not the case with the Delta variant. The outbreak in Provincetown, a seaside tourist spot on Cape Cod with Massachusetts' highest vaccination rate, has so far included more than 900 cases, about 3/4 who were fully vaccinated. Leaked internal documents on breakthrough infections and Delta variant suggest the CDC may be considering other changes in advice on how the nation fights the coronavirus. Just tell us the truth.
Exactly.
Just keep it real with us. Just keep it real. Don't politicize this. Don't turn this into a Republican versus Democrat, left wing, right wing, Trump, Biden, and this is how we're stuck in this quagmire.
Yes.
Right, Rev?
That's it. I mean, it's and the thing is, actually, it's not just with the coronavirus that we do this. It's so many issues that we've politicized things to the point where if the person trying to address an issue is on the other side, or matter of fact, it's not even if they're on the other side, it's if they're not voraciously on your side.
Right.
The other night on Issues and Answers, Natalie Ammons was interviewing a gentleman regarding the redrawing of district maps, from the census information. And he was making the point, or he was trying to make the point, that the best way to resolve issues like this is to get people together who don't have an axe to grind, a dog in the hunt, who just have the goal of making elections fair.
Right.
And allowing people to believe that their vote matters.
Yes.
But no, everyone else wanted to talk about how this is important for our side. Mm-hmm. We need to get this so that things work better for our side and for people that agree with us, mm-hmm. and for people that will work for us.
Right.
I'm like, every election that can change.
Right.
Simply because one person who maybe, really lined up with what you want decides to retire, and right. someone else from the same party runs for that seat, but maybe he sees a couple issues different.
Right.
There's no way in a 10-year period of time you can guarantee that everybody that comes up is going to line up with what you think. And here's an even deeper truth. Most of us don't think the same way over a 10-year period of time.
That's true. That's absolutely true.
What becomes important to us changes over time.
That's true.
Just a simple thing is the difference between a single man with no kids, what's important to him, and then 10 years later, after he's met the woman of his dreams, they've had 2.5 wonderful children and got their picket fence and their dog in the backyard. It's amazing how things, in terms of what's important, will change.
Right. Right. I mean, I remember when I was a very virulent liberal when I was young. Very much. I remember. I forgot who I was telling this story not too long ago. When John Kerry was running against George W. Bush in 2004. The day before that election, I was so wound up that I actually canceled going into work that day because I worked the next day. Should I say canceled going into work the next day? Stayed up the entire night watching Michael Moore's Fahrenheit 9/11.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
I watched it 3 or 4 times in a row.
Ooh, you getting stoked.
Yeah. And then after the last time I watched it, I walked to my polling place at 5:30 in the morning, okay, and stood outside in the cold November rain to wait for the people to open up the polling place, St. Mary's of the Lake, out in Miller, where I'm from.
Right.
I stood outside so I could be the first person to vote against George W. Bush. I mean, I remember how stoked I was to vote for Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
You know, I dog her out all the time on this show because she's an awful human being and a political hack. But in 2008, I voted for her over Barack Obama. Okay, I couldn't wait to vote for her. So you're 100% right. Like when I was in my early 20s or something, like I was totally, I was a different politically. What the things I prioritized back then isn't the same as what I prioritize now. You're 100% right about that, and that's the truth is the same. And that's why we can't let ourselves get bogged down in the political, or should I say, partisan hackery.
Yeah.
We can't become political hacks, folks.
Because there's just, aside from which, nobody knows everything.
Right.
Everybody knows something. Another thing that gentleman said on that interview is the best policy is made when people with diverse perspectives come together and look for the common good.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you get the best policy.
Right.
When everybody on one side of a question is making decisions, you tend to get bad policy because they don't know what they don't know.
That's true. That's absolutely true. And we got to go to another break really quick here on WOTH. I can't believe it's already time. After the hour, at the top of the hour, we're definitely going to get into the 20th anniversary of 9/11.
All right.
Please give us a call, 219-885-1370.